I'm Charlotte with Freezer Meals 101. Today we are going to be making vegetarian freezer meals. I've got 5 great recipes planned for us. There's a lot of variety here. If you haven't done many vegetarian meals before, you might actually be surprised by all the possibilities that are out there. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to concentrate on vegetarian meals today, and last week I actually did another video on just vegetarian freezer meals, so that one's got 5 different recipes, lots and lots of variety over there. You can check that out at that link up there, or at the end of the video I'll put a link to that if you want to watch this one first and then go and check those out. But the reason that I wanted to do these and concentrate on this right now is that I'm hearing from a lot of people about the rising cost of groceries and their concern about how they're going to be able to feed their families. And going meatless, or at least adding a few meatless meals in a week, can go a long way towards lowering your grocery costs. So if you're here because you are vegetarian or you already do a meatless Monday or whatever, that's great, and I hope these recipes and ideas help you a lot. But if you are new to meatless cooking, then let me tell you, you can get a lot of really great taste and some hearty meals that your family's gonna love, and you can save on those grocery bills. So let's get started. I'm gonna let you know first what we're gonna be making. We're going to be doing a pesto minestrone soup, vegetable chili, chickpea and vegetable curry, a mac and cheese, and sweet potato and black bean quesadillas. Now, these sweet potato and black bean quesadillas are a recipe that I used to make all the time. Like every time we did freezer meals, I made bags of this filling to make when I did quesadillas, and it was just like a staple in our house. And then somehow I stopped making it and forgot all about it. And recently I was looking through for ideas for these videos and realized, like, how did I stop making those? How did I forget about those? So anyway, I'm excited to be making those today because they were something that, like I said, we ate all the time, and I've been missing them but didn't even realize I was missing them because I forgot about them completely. That's what happens when you get older. Your memory starts to go. Or that, or like 7 kids kind of take some of your memory cells away. Anyway, okay, so the first meal I'm gonna do is the one that's kind of laid out right in front of me, which is is this the vegetable chili? Yeah, vegetable chili. So you can find, I'll link the recipes down below. This one I don't have a link for yet, but you can find it in our vegetarian freezer meal plan, and I will link that down below. And that freezer meal plan includes some recipes that also have the shopping lists and the prep lists and the printable labels and all that, just to kind of make it super easy for you. So that's one of the recipes that is in here. Another one that we're doing today that's in there is the chickpea and vegetable curry and the pesto minestrone. But I think I've got links for those if you want to just get them for free too. So, okay, this one is gonna have 28-ounce can crushed tomatoes, 28-ounce can diced tomatoes, a 19-ounce can of kidney beans. We're going to drain that and rinse it. We're gonna do 2 cups frozen corn. Normally you would do 2 celery stalks, but I am allergic to celery, so we skip the celery in all the recipes over here. We're gonna do some red pepper, yellow pepper, green pepper, some garlic cloves, onion, some thinly sliced carrots, cumin, chili powder, salt, and if you want, you can add chili flakes for some extra spice. Now to this one, I'm actually giving this to a friend of mine who broke her arm in a fall last week, which stinks. But anyway, she can't be cooking right now because she's got this broken arm. So this one I'm making for her, and I'm not sure how their family feels about spice, so I'm not adding the spice today. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I'm usually very big on spice, but today for this one recipe, we're gonna tone it down in case their family is not as big on spice as we are. Now that I've mixed it a little bit, I'm going to reopen it and take out all of the air that I can. Now when you're doing freezer cooking, air is your enemy. Air is what causes freezer burn. So you have to be really careful to get out as much air as you can from your bags, and that way your meals are gonna last longer and taste fresher. So this is a really nice one. Lots of good veggies in there. It's gonna taste pretty healthy, but also quite hearty. So there we've got one beautiful, colorful vegetable chili done. I'm just gonna get things a little bit cleaned up here so that I've got more room to work. You might be able to see that I've kind of laid things out per recipe so that I've got exactly what I need. I don't have to be rooting through the cupboards. Saves a lot of time, but it does create a bit of a busy workstation, which can make it hard to get things done too if it's too cluttered. So I'm just gonna clear that away now that we've got some of this used up, and then we will get started on meal number 2. All right, next one we are going to do is our pesto minestrone soup. Now this is a really nice one. It's a little different than the minestrones that you might be used to. It's still got like your vegetables, your basic broth, and your beans. So like minestrone in that way, and when you make it, if you want to add noodles, you can. So in that way it's like minestrone, but it's got pesto and Parmesan and wine in it. So that kind of kicks it up to another level. Okay, we are doing in this one onion, skipping the celery again, but if you make it, you can add celery, carrots, garlic, white wine, diced tomatoes, mixed beans, tomato paste, Italian seasoning, pepper, Parmesan, pesto, and vegetable broth. Now you might notice that I add the liquids last, and there's a method to my madness there. The reason is that if you add the liquids last, then your bag has less chance of falling over. Now there's ways that you can get the things that hold your bags up, or you can put it in a container to hold it up for you, like a plastic container that you have, or a juice jug. We've used that before. But if you're fairly certain that you're not gonna tip it over, then, and you can hold it yourself or have someone else hold it for you, then I usually don't use anything to hold them up. So if I put my liquids in last, that gives me the least chance of spilling the bags. And so that is my little trick there. Now when it comes to soups, another thing that you can do is you can not add the broth or the water and just add a note on the bag to add it on the day of cooking. Now the reason that you want to do that, or you might want to do that, and I often do it, is because that way your bag is going to be a lot less thick, it takes up less space in your freezer. So if space is an issue for you, then I suggest that you freeze your soups without adding the broth to them first, and just add a note on the bag reminding you what kind of broth and how much to add on the day of cooking. That way your bag will be thinner, take up less space in your freezer, and just be sure that when you're getting the groceries for it, you do go ahead and buy the broth. That way you won't end up on the day of cooking and realize that you're missing an ingredient. Okay, 2 down, 3 to go. Chickpea and vegetable curry. This one is going to be onion, sweet potato, chickpeas. We're using 2 cans of chickpeas, 3 tablespoons curry powder, some garlic, 2 cans of coconut milk, some cauliflower, lemon juice, frozen peas, and salt. Isn't that one pretty? It's got really nice color and it's tasty too. If you like curry flavors, it's a gooder. My neighbor Christy, who normally makes my freezer meals with me, she is a no-go on coconut. It's funny because she's not picky at all. She is one of the least picky people I have ever met, but coconut is where it stops for her. So I've tried to convince her to try some coconut milk recipes, but it's been a definite no. One time she was a good sport and we did make one of these chickpea and vegetable curries, but I know that she didn't eat it. Her family might have, but I never made her do that again because freezer meals are no good to you if you're not gonna eat them. In order to make mac and cheese for the freezer, you can really use any homemade mac and cheese recipe. Just take your favorite one, make it. The only thing that I would say is that you're gonna wanna undercook the noodles slightly. Just cook them maybe a minute less than what the package directions say. And then you just can make up your mac and cheese just as you normally would, and then put it in containers, cover it really well, and then freeze it. When you take it out to cook it, you're gonna wanna thaw it first and then put it in the freezer. You can cook it from frozen, but you're just gonna have to add a lot of time onto the cooking if you cook from frozen. So I'm just using, I'm not even really using a recipe today. I'm just making some homemade mac and cheese just from the top of my head, but I will link a recipe down in the description below in case you don't have one that you can use, and that one will work really well. In my opinion, the key to good mac and cheese is 2 things: seasonings and using more than one kind of cheese. It doesn't really matter what kind of cheese you like, just 2 of your favorites, or 3. I've done mac and cheese with 3 before. Today we're using 2. We're using cheddar and a jalapeno jack, but I have done all kinds of cheese combinations. I love applewood smoked cheddar in a mac and cheese. Oh, it is like the best. Anyway, I don't have any of that today, so we're just doing these other cheeses. But for seasonings, today I used dry mustard powder, salt, pepper, and smoked paprika. But again, really any of your favorite mac and cheese recipe will work for this, so use what you love. And as far as the cheese goes, definitely try more than one cheese. So you cook your noodles, you make your roux with some melted butter and flour, and then you add in the seasonings and allow those to cook a little bit in your roux before you add the milk. Once that milk, butter, roux, I don't know, whatever mixture has started to thicken, then you add in your shredded cheeses. Now, one thing that I like to do in mine is I like to add a little bit of cheese on top, either just before I freeze it or on the day of cooking. And that way, when I bake it, just get an extra amount of cheesiness. In my books, cheesy equates to goodness. I am going to separate mine. I'm probably gonna double the recipe, and then I'm gonna separate it out into some smaller single serving containers, because those are really nice to have either for lunches or to give to my mother-in-law or my dad so that they can have them for their dinners. And then I'm gonna do one that's kind of like a medium size casserole dish for our family, put that in the freezer, and then we can have it as a side dish. Okay, you might have noticed that for all the other recipes, I had done my prep ahead of time. It saves you so much time and headache to do it, especially if you're gonna be making multiples of each recipe, which I highly recommend. That'll save you the most time, and you can get the most meals done in the shortest time if you make multiples of each recipe. We didn't do that today just because my freezer is still pretty full from those 136 freezer meals that Christy and I did. Oh, I'll put a link right there. A few weeks ago, was that? Maybe 3 weeks ago now. But between that and the video I did last week of vegetarian freezer meals, we are not hurting for meals here. So I didn't have to double these. But if you do prep ahead, it's gonna save you time. If you do multiples of each recipe, that's gonna save you time. That's also gonna save you money because you can buy in bulk. But for this one, I saved some of the prep to show you because I just wanna show you how we do it. So this last recipe we're doing today is the sweet potato and black bean quesadillas. Now, all we're making for these is the mixture. On the day that you cook them, you take this mixture and you just cook it up in the skillet till everything is nice and soft, and then you put that inside a flour tortilla with some cheese. If you want to add some spice, you can add some jalapenos, some green chilies. You can add whatever you want to these. This is like a very open-ended recipe, but the basics of it is this sweet potato black bean mixture that we're making now. Now I'm gonna make it in 2 small, like medium-sized freezer bags because I want these to be lunch size. This is a perfect lunch meal for me. I work from home, and so for me to be able to just quickly make something up that I know I'm gonna enjoy and have it just be individual size, or I have enough for 2 days if I make one of these bags. So that's perfect for me. We're gonna start with shredding our sweet potato. I know it's kind of weird, but we're gonna shred the sweet potato. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. That's not gonna work. Okay, so we're shredding our sweet potato. We need 2 cups. Through the magic of video editing, that looks like it took me no time at all to get 2 cups of shredded sweet potato, but I'm always honest with you guys, and it's kind of a pain shredding the sweet potato. However, it didn't take forever and ever, and I survived. I did try 2 different methods of shredding, one with the grater upright and the other with the grater on its side. The verdict's out about which one was more effective, but we do have our 2 cups of shredded sweet potato that we're gonna add, and then we're adding it to a bowl just so we can get the things mixed because we're separating it into 2 bags. So that's gonna be my easiest way to do that. We're gonna add onion, cumin, garlic, salt, and some drained and rinsed black beans. That's it, pretty simple, but these make very tasty quesadillas. So that's what our mixture looks like. And now I'm just gonna put it into bags, separate it into 2. Well, very quickly, in under an hour, we were able to make 5 vegetarian freezer meals. Now, I would have been able to do 10 in that same amount of time if I had just doubled everything. So you can go ahead and try that if you want. That does not include prep time because I did prep those veggies ahead, but it does give you kind of an idea of what you could do to be able to feed your family or yourself. A lot of these can be portioned into individual servings, either by putting them in small foil containers or in those medium-sized resealable freezer bags. Now, I'm going to link right there last week's vegetarian freezer meals video so that you will have double the amount of recipes that you can choose from. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love reading the comments, and I especially love when you tell me that you tried the meals yourself and that you're now finding the sanity that freezer meals can bring. Happy cooking, guys.